feeling quite as warm as it did this afternoon, highs reaching around 16 to 17 degrees Celsius in the southeast. Now, as we head into Saturday, we'll start to see this change. This frontal system pushing in from the west, at times bringing some quite persistent and heavy outbreaks of rain, at first into Northern Ireland and then pushing its way eastwards into western Scotland, western parts of England and Wales, where it could linger through much of the day. But most of the east should be mostly dry and bright, and then it looks like turning brighter as we head into next week. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Well, you thought you got rid of Tony Blair, but apparently he wants to be Prime Minister again, not of the United Kingdom, but of Gaza. Can you believe it? When will Tony Blair go away? While we're talking about Blair, his Orwellian nightmare has finally come true. Keir Starmer has buckled at the knees and is going to roll out digital ID compulsory to all of you at home. It is dominating the front pages here in the United Kingdom. Nicolas Sarkozy potentially going to prison, former French president. So much to dig into. Join me in a couple of minutes.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 11 o'clock. I'm Alex Armstrong and this is Patrick Christys tonight's late edition. Breaking today.
Digital ID will make our interactions with each other and with the state faster, cheaper and more reliable.
Oh, you're going to be hearing a lot about Tony Blair this evening. The man cannot stay off your screen. But yes, of course, welcome to the Orwellian nightmare. The government is set to force you to have digital ID. Bev Turner, I'm sure you've got plenty to say about this on your Late Show Live tonight.
What makes you think that, Alex? The fact that I've been talking about this for 5 years. When it all happened 5 years ago, I said this is nothing to do with a virus right now. This is because we're staring down the barrel of more control methods. The vaccine passports were a way to see if we'd buy it. We didn't buy it in the UK. Will you buy it now with digital ID? I, for one, will not. I do not comply. We're going to be talking tonight about why this isn't a conversation here in America. Very interesting. They obviously have to give ID if you even just buy an alcoholic drink here, but they don't have this conversation around digital ID. Why? That and a lot more this evening. Alex.
Oh, thank you, Bev. I really cannot wait to hear you talk about this. Bev has been one of the leading voices on this. You're going to have to tune in to watch it. And the cracks are already showing in the Tory party in this, this evening. Leader Kemi Badenoch said she could see the benefits of digital ID. Can you believe it? Shadow Secretary of State for Business, Andrew Griffith, disagreed.
Well, it's my personal position as well to be against a compulsory
So you're
ID
against
card.
your leader?
Well, my personal position, we have not seen what the government is coming up with.
Oh, isn't it just going to be a great one to watch? Plus, a little bit of this.
Very proud of our country. I'm very proud to sit in front of the Union Jack. I did it when I represented our country as Chief Prosecutor.
Like he was at Lee Anderson's pub there. Anyway, Sir Keir Starmer is set to make an attempt to reclaim patriotism. I look forward to see how he's going to manage that one. And he's also got this guy to worry about, hasn't he?
A proper plan for the country and a proper plan to be reformed. We've got to work on a plan, a proper plan to be reformed. And we've got a plan to be reformed. That is what matters.
Do you think he wants a plan to beat reform? Anyway, in his first intervention since the manoeuvres of Andy Burnham, Sir Keir Starmer has claimed the Manchester mayor would inflict harm of Liz Truss proportions. Well, did you think Tony Blair was finished running governments, let alone trying to force you to get digital ID? Well, it turns out he's making a play for another country to be president, prime minister, whatever it is, of this country. I'll tell you more, but first, let's get your news to Katie Bowen.
Alex, thank you and good evening. The headlines at 3 minutes past 11. GB News sources understand that every adult in Britain will require a new government-issued digital ID card under plans to be set out by Sir Keir Starmer. The Prime Minister is expected to announce the move in a bid to tackle illegal immigration. It's understood Sir Keir Starmer will outline the details in a speech tomorrow. Plans for what's being called a Brit card will be subject to consultation and will require legislation. Under the proposal, anyone starting a new job would be required to show the digital ID, which would then be automatically checked against a database of people who are entitled to live and work in the UK. The Conservatives have branded the move a desperate gimmick to stop the small boats, while the Liberal Democrats said that they cannot support a mandatory digital ID. Reform UK say it's a cynical ploy to fool voters that something's being done about illegal immigration. Well, also in that speech tomorrow, Sir Keir Starmer is expected to address his party's history of dealing with immigration. The Telegraph newspaper reporting tonight that he will say his party has shied away from concerns on the subject. The Prime Minister will be joined by counterparts from Australia and Canada at the conference in London tomorrow. He's expected to add that relying on migration to plug workforce gaps is not compassionate left-wing politics. It's understood the Prime Minister will also call for difference under the same flag amid the Operation Raise the Colours campaign. Elsewhere today, the Home Office has confirmed 7 migrants have now been flown to France under the partial returns deal after a Sudanese national was returned today. The latest deportations also included an Afghan and a Somali national, following returns last week from people from Iran, Eritrea, India and Afghanistan. The pilot scheme, agreed with France in July, allows small boat rivals to be detained and sent back across the Channel in exchange for the same number approved through safe and legal routes. The first arrivals under the deal, a family of 3 with a young child, landed in Britain yesterday. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer has insisted he will lead from the front into the next general election amid speculation about the future of his premiership. His comments to regional broadcasters come as Andy Burnham says Labour MPs have urged him to challenge Sir Keir Starmer for the party leadership. The Prime Minister has dismissed what he calls the personal ambitions of the Greater Manchester Mayor. Mr Burnham, meanwhile, says he's ready to play any role as Labour faces what he calls an existential threat. In further interviews today, Sir Keir Starmer has said Donald Trump's claim that London wants to go to Sharia law is ridiculous nonsense, adding that he will, quote, call out the president over his comments when he next sees him. And a gang of cybercriminals claim that they've stolen the pictures, names and addresses of around 8,000 children from a nursery chain. The hackers are reportedly using the highly sensitive information to demand a ransom from Kido, a nursery company with 18 sites in the UK. The National Cybersecurity Centre say the reports are deeply distressing, with full guidance published on their website. Those are your latest GB News headlines. Now let's go back to Alex.
You can now watch GB News live across the United States of America and the world on Truth Plus. Scan the QR code to find out more, or visit gbnews.com/truth.
Welcome back to Late Edition with me, Alex Armstrong. Let's get straight to Friday's front pages, shall we? The Mirror playing the Brit card. The Sun, is it cause I's having a midlife crisis? That was my best attempt there. That was Ali G, of course, Sacha Baron Cohen, 53, dates model 27. The Daily Telegraph. And we will talk more about this front page because there's a little story there that has sent all of our panel absolutely wild. It is Starmer, Labour got it wrong on migration. More to come on that. Metro, compulsory digital ID cards are on the cards. The Eye, Brit's card, digital ID will be made law for all adults in bid to tackle small boats. Financial Times, Burnham borrowing spree would rock gilts and hurt sterling, investors warn. The Independent, new digital ID cards to be compulsory for all UK workers. The Guardian, Microsoft blocks Israel's use of technology for mass surveillance. OK. Well, look, we've got to talk about digital ID, don't we? We have to talk about it, and we spoke about it quite a lot tonight, but this is sending the country wild. It has infuriated every major political party except for Labour. Should we go straight to the front page of The Independent, because they've got a nice big splash of it here. A new digital ID card to be compulsory for all UK workers. Simon, I mean, you've got to laugh. I mean, this was never in their manifesto. They even denied they were even going to do it just a year ago. Now, when Andy Burnham's out campaigning against the Prime Minister, when his chief of staff looks like he's on the rocks, it's on scandal after scandal. Oh, digital ID cards might be a good idea.
Well, I mean, it would be quite an interesting way if he is just trying to distract attention from his other woes, because it's hardly likely to cheer everyone up and reassure them that he's in fact got his hand firmly on the tiller. I'd be surprised, to be honest, if they have elevated it into the agenda just to distract from the Burnham threat. But there's something very deeply troubling about it, not just the fact that they've proposed it, and you say, it was never in the manifesto. There's at least a dozen things you could point at that they've done in the first year of government that were never in the manifesto and would have precluded them and disqualified them from government if they had put them in there. But I do think this is a particularly sinister one, although, on the other hand, it is a kind of continuity, in a way, of the way that the country has been going for a long time. And I know a lot of people feel, and have felt for years, that migrants, immigration, undocumented migrants, were going to be used as a Trojan horse, if you want to justify it. And I think that's the most concerning aspect of it, because it clearly is going to, once it's in, it will just expand exponentially. It will just grow and grow, and we'll all become part of the blob, and it's horrible.
It's terrifying. This is terrifying to me, Ellie, because when you look at what happened with COVID passports, we were told time and time again by not just British politicians, American ones as well, Joe Biden famously saying, it's totally safe, it's totally safe. And it's like, you know, we obviously found that it wasn't entirely safe and that it didn't stop the spread, as we were told, because, of course, you could still get COVID even with the jab. And they used that as a tool to stop you from flying. They've tried to force people out of their jobs. There were broadcasters insanely saying we should hold people down and physically jab them also. I mean, it's how nuts
It's not
this
just the
stuff is.
vaccine passports, though, but do you remember the COVID app where they would track who your household were? And I was at university at the time, and it was awful, because I was in my first year, I was trying to make friends, and every time I went into a pub to try and sort of meet new people, they would say, papers, please, digital ID papers, please. Are you with the correct household? No, that's not what the government has you down as. You can't come in with these sort of people. And we saw the overreach the government had in that time, and this is absolutely a slippery slope. The digital ID cards is a totally slippery slope towards a social credit system, etc. And when even Corbyn is coming out against it, you know that there is government overreach, and this is actually too much of a communist sort of idea.
Yeah, Peter, I'll bring you in this, because this has got Tony Blair's fingerprints all over it, hasn't it? He's been making videos about it in the past. He tried to, of course, deliver it in his government, failed to do so. So he's almost been like he's waited for the moment that Keir Starmer is the weakest to go, why don't you try doing that digital ID card? That'll distract them all.
I think you're kind of invoking some Austin Powers type conspiracy with Tony Blair sitting over here, you know, in some of the Hollywood prosthetics, like an Austin Powers villain.
So many British people wouldn't be surprised if that was true.
We're not in that territory. I think this is the rise of the technocrats, really, and I don't see it as particularly sinister. You're right that Tony Blair floated not digital, but if you like, shows where we're coming 20 years. Paper, hard copy ID. You know, I'm a generation, so Simon, where a lot of stuff was done on paper. Tony Blair floated paper IDs. He then dropped it because there was a bit of a revolt among his own party and on the left. But yeah, the Tony Blair Institute, which is his think tank he's set up with all his money, publishes a lot of policy ideas. It's quite popular among the Tories, some of those ideas, as well as the Starmer government. I don't at all think this has anything to do with Andy Burnham. I think this reflects the number one concern, which is illegal immigration.
Yeah, Simon, I'll come back to you, because there's a petition going around the internet. This is a government petition, so you can go onto the government's website, petition.parliament, sorry, should I say, a parliament petition. It started, I think, the day on less than 200,000 signatures. It is now rapidly approaching 500,000. It's 424,747 signatures, and it's going up almost every 10 minutes by about 1,000 people at this rate, Simon. And it's getting close to midnight.
Yeah.
People are furious.
Yeah, especially the sort of people who sit up late at night.
We're listening to us baffle on. Yeah.
It might be a close correlation. It might dip when we come off air. But yeah, I do think it's a very emotive idea. I mean, you're right, of course. It is something that partly reflects the technocracy. It partly reflects the available technology. And this is the fear that an awful lot of the changes we've seen in society, and not just in this country, in other countries that have adopted them, of course, China is the most obvious one of the countries. I mean, the great sort of reassuring thing in my lifetime and earlier was that the great sort of socialist Soviet republics and so on, the Soviet Union, failed. They were obvious. They creaked. They groaned under their incapability. The command economy was just not capable of keeping pace with the information that it needed in order to interrogate, you know, where resources should be allocated and so on. China has demonstrated that with the amount of technology that is available now, the amount of artificial intelligence and the supercomputers and the number crunching available, you can actually make these things work, and you can turn people into little economic units in a way that simply wasn't possible before. Yeah. And I think people feel this is the way it is horribly rare that you see technology available to a government for a long time, and it's, you know, it's like that meme from, you know, is it American Dad or something, you know, looking at it, cannot resist the the ID cards.
The British public have a proud history of rejecting this sort of encroachment on our privacy and freedoms. And I really think that Starmer will have a difficult time getting this through, because there has to be legislation. He'll probably have to get the support of Parliament. We've had Reform obviously come out against it. The Lib Dems have come out against it. Now is Kemi's time to shine and say, we will do anything in our power to try and block this, rather than saying, oh, well, there are arguments for and against. We'll have to wait and see. No.
She doesn't grasp the nature of polemic, does she?
No, she hasn't grasped it. And also...
I don't know what she does grasp as leader of the opposition, Frank. I mean, I don't mean to be rude about Kemi Badenoch, but I don't know what she does grasp when it comes to these sorts of things. She should be leading the charge against this, and she's not. Here we go. That's the petition live on the screen here. You can see, actually slightly delayed. My computer here is about 200 more than that at the moment. But, yeah, I mean, you'll get an idea of how fast... We'll keep it up there for a second. Let's see how fast it grows.
Wow.
Yeah, there you go.
I wonder if you need to produce some sort of ID in order to,
that's a good point. Well, you do need to put your email address in there. That's why the government already have that, clearly. Peter, this was not in Labour's manifesto. This was not in their manifesto. We've had no vote on this whatsoever. This is what I would say is the biggest transfer of freedoms and power from citizens' privacy to the government in history.
Well, it's not happened, and if you believe that, and I think you've been drinking the Kool-Aid, nothing has happened yet. I think where we'll end up, and by the way, many of us are on Government Gateway, which is about as unconspiratorial and as uncommunist a technocratic measure you could find. I suspect where we'll end up is some kind of voluntary scheme where employers say to employees, we'd quite like to have this. But, you know, let's not... summon up these images of, you know, wartime where we're all carrying around a dusty bit of paper in our pocket and we'll be challenged by officers.
Why shouldn't we show people what could happen? Well, you say it once, you can't promise that. You cannot make that guarantee. And we're not just living in our times. We're thinking about our children, our grandchildren, their great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren. And what this government is going to do is hand the tools of authoritarianism.
No, Alex,
it takes one dictator in our lifetime to be able to press a button and put people in camps because of their race.
Not going to happen, apart from the fact you're going to give people nightmares with this nonsense. It's not going to happen because, as you said, there are general elections and you need MPs in Parliament to vote for every change of the law. You know...
Yeah, but not if there's a dictator, you don't. I mean, do you know what's funny? Simon, can I put this to you? Because what's really funny... Yeah, well, yeah, this is the thing. What's really funny to me, Simon, is that the left, they talk about fascism. This is one of the tools that a fascist would use in order to control the population.
I don't personally feel that Starmer has authoritarian instincts, but it is interesting. It is absolutely what people say about Trump, that they fear for democracy. It's exactly what they used to try and say about him, that he shouldn't be elected a second time because he would turn tyrant, he would change the rules. And this is part of the infrastructure of that kind of ambition. But it's not necessarily even just that. I think it would still be miserable. There is something rather charming about the inefficiency of the British, the information structure. The fact that DVLA don't know anything about your DNA, the fact that the NHS don't know anything about your national insurance. Do you know what I mean? I mean, I still remember, of course, you know, a Saturday job when you went and did a job on the market and a greengrocer would give you 50 quid and used fivers at the end of the day. We've moved on from that. I lost my wallet, and I expect a lot of people have had this experience. I lost my wallet about a year ago and had no cards for a few days until they were returned. I was suddenly, confronted with the amount of friction when you're trying to just get through the day with cash. There are pubs in central London now that will not take cash.
But what happens if they steal your entire phone now? They've got access to your digital ID, Simon.
It's just the direction of travel, isn't it? And this is a major step, and it opens up all kinds of new opportunities with the next iteration.
But the excuse, which is to crack down on illegal immigration, is a total nonsense. Because firstly, we have national insurance numbers, which most employers ask for. But do you really think that those employers who know that they're employing illegal workers are going to demand that the people that are working with them, who they know are illegal, to give a digital ID card? Do you think the people coming across in small boats will go, OK, yes, now I'm going to try and download it, get my phone, download a digital ID card to show to my employer? No,
do you think people waiting for their curry at home will demand to see a digital ID card at the front door when the delivery arrives?
But there's always loopholes, and as we were talking about earlier, it's always cash in hand. Everything will go underground, even more so than it is now. It's going to do absolutely nothing to crack down on illegal workers.
Peter, let's ask you, what do you think this will do to help stop illegal migration?
I wouldn't confess to be an expert on digital IDs, but the theory is that, one, it creates a deterrent, and two, if you have a digital ID, then there's a ton more inspections and clampdown on what's called the grey economy to tackle with it. other than that, I think you're going to have to get an academic to tell you a bit more.
So it's not easy to defend it, particularly when you look at Germany, you look at Sweden, you look at other European countries who have digital ID, and of course, what happens then is that they get this massive influx of illegal migrants, and it proves that this doesn't stop anything. They've got a massive black market in Germany and these other countries. It's done nothing to slow that down, unfortunately. Anyway.
But this is anyone starting a job. What about those who come across on a dinghy and they are applying for asylum? Do they immediately have to sign up? We don't know yet, but it doesn't look like it from the briefings.
Well, asylum seekers can't do paid work.
They can't do paid work. So how's that going to deter people coming across on a boat from across the
They're
channel?
not coming here for... I mean, a lot of them are economic migrants, but a lot of them will also be coming here for the easy system we have.
Yeah,
and frankly, this will not stop them. Anyway, all right, coming up on the show.
To go after the criminal gangs, to smash the gang networks.
To smash the smuggling gangs.
Smash the gangs.
To smash the gangs.
Smash the gangs. We're going to find out why the Prime Minister thinks Labour has got it wrong on migration, and I'm also going to tell you why, well, where Tony Blair might be president of next. He's wanted it for so long, hasn't he? This is Patrick Christys, Tonight Late Edition with me, Alex Armstrong.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I ever got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
While the organisers work, it is lunchtime for the guinea pigs. Let me give Helen you this.
Thank you. There we go. This is Ziggy, and she's one of our 7 rescue piggies that we brought along with us today.
And Helen, you're here with this amazing model village where the guinea pigs are enjoying.
Yeah.
Guinea pigs don't really need as much space as this, though, but it is nice.
It is lovely. I mean, you know, who wouldn't want your own pub and your own nail bar? But on a serious note, the reason we've built such a big enclosure here today is just to provide that message that bigger is always better. Guinea pigs love exploring, they love foraging, you know, it's really good for their mental well-being. So the bigger space you can provide them, the better. And I think ours are having a really nice time today.
Ziggy is getting through that lettuce leaf. I'll leave you to enjoy that. Thank you, Helen, for joining us. Come with me this way as the organisers are continuing to get the event underway here. You can hear the drilling going on because we've got dancing dogs here, because the show here is all about how music is impacting your pets. Trip Hazard is a Trip Hazard here, and Lucy, who looks after Trip Hazard, you've been on Britain's Got Talent, came 5th on that. Also, European UK dog dancing champions.
Right, yeah.
How'd you get into this?
To be honest, we used to watch it at Crufts when I was younger, and I wasn't allowed a dog of my own, and I thought it was the most magical thing I'd ever seen, the bond between the dog and owner, and I just knew that when I got my first dog, I really wanted to give it a go.
And, I mean, if anyone fancies doing this at home, what's your advice?
Oh, find what your dog really, really loves, their favourite treats, their favourite toy, and definitely use that to teach them and reward them for all the tricks.
Well, have you got a treat for me to perhaps test something out now? Rummaging around for a treat. Right, we've been practising this all morning. Wish me luck. Volt, 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 volt. Hey, there we go. Oh, it was better earlier, but that is something I've learned this morning.
The People's Channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, let's get straight into the Daily Telegraph, shall we? Because on the front page there, Starmer, Labour got it wrong on migration. Wow, they've had the epiphany. The pennies dropped, everybody. It took them long enough, didn't it? Keir Starmer is going to say, well, writing in the Telegraph, he says that the party did shy away did shy away from voters' concerns on illegal immigration. Oh, yeah. I mean, what a revelation the Prime Minister's having, Simon. I mean, it's almost as if migration has been out of control for a decade.
Well, maybe 3. I don't know.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe
obviously
3.
the worst in sheer numbers was Boris Johnson by a huge amount, the wave. But some would say that many of those were not as culturally unassimilable or whatever. There was a lot of Ukrainian refugees in Hong Kong and so on in that. But, I mean, as long as I can remember, the electorates have been trying to emphasise their keenness that it be brought under control, and every single election cycle, it gets worse. And every single election cycle, it ends with the parties noticing and promising to get a grip to it. In the next,
and never do it. I don't
know what kind of similes or metaphors for hollowness you can use at this point that just, are fresh.
This is so funny, to be honest.
Can I just add, because I want to get your thoughts. There's this, because obviously there was Boris as well, Ellie. Boris as well. He did an interview, an exclusive interview with The Sun yesterday. He defended his track record on migration. It's bonkers.
He did. But he was saying that it's illegal migration that is the problem rather than legal. And I think most people would disagree. It's just the sheer number. Puts a strain on the public sector, and of course, as a result, taxpayers. But in terms of Starmer saying that we've got it wrong on migration, I find it very funny because he's rolled out his ministers to constantly defend their track record when the number of boat crossings, channel crossings, have just risen up by 40% up on last year, etc., saying it's the weather, or it's not our fault, or it's the Tories' fault. Now he's saying we got it wrong. I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple of weeks' time, the next new advisor that hasn't quit already tells him, say, actually, we've got it right. Because do you remember the Island of Strangers comments that he then U-turned on, saying, I didn't actually read it, I didn't really mean it. Honestly, he is Sir Flip-Flop, and I think this is just some empty words to try and push through this digital ID card policy, and it means nothing. It really means nothing.
It's interesting, can I just say, on that, when you say the distinction between legal and illegal immigration, obviously that is significant, but it's one of those distinctions that can easily be distorted by, in the same way that you kind of say, we just make shoplifting legal, essentially, and suddenly it's fine.
And I'm sorry to interrupt, Simon, but it has been deliberately by people on the right, Robert Jenrick in particular, and this is part of what you might call the generification or generification of politics, where you lump together asylum seekers, women who've been raped in Sudan, people who've come here to work, and then illegal migrants, and you lump them all into one group, and then you say they're all bad and there are all too many of them, when in fact anyone knows that life is a lot more complex than that. So I really, really resist the point, and I know you're not doing, but others are lumping them all together. We've got duties to help the poorest people in the world who are fleeing war, but we've also got a duty to British people and British taxpayers to have a robust system.
Yeah, I mean, look, there are some people who would get confused about illegal and legal migration, but the reality is we're having this conversation because after decade, I mean, we saw every Tory manifesto promised to get migration down. Some of them promised to tens of thousands. What they got was hundreds of thousands. Then Boris came in and going, we'll take back control. And actually, you got millions of people coming in. He's then justifying it yesterday, which I think is unashamedly doing so. Absolutely disgraceful from Boris Johnson. But what do you expect from Boris? Unfortunately, I don't know if you picked up on this, but I used to love Boris Johnson. I used to think he was great, but I think he's been an absolute disaster. Prime Minister's at least saying he got it wrong, but he's only saying it to sell this policy.
Well, hold on, I'm not sure. I took this, and you've shown it on screen, Starmer, Labour got it wrong on migration. I took that to mean a reference to the previous Labour government, and in particular, although the Telegraph doesn't go into all this detail, you'll remember in 2005, a Labour cabinet minister said, expansion of the EU, it was called accession states, but I don't want to send you all to sleep at 11:30, but EU accession states, Poland and so on and so on, and I worked with many good Polish workers in my former job, that was going to be in the tens of thousands. And as we know now, it was hundreds and hundreds of thousands, wildly exceeded the estimates. And I took this to be a clear reference to that, because anything that's happening out of migration really is a tail end of a Conservative government. You can't turn around the whole border system in 6 or 12 months.
All right, well, that's a good segue. Well, we're talking about the previous Labour administration, of course, not the Brown one, but the Blair one, because the man, Tony Blair, who we can't seem to get away from anymore. He's so back, isn't he? This is like Blair back. He's so back. Blair must be loving it right now. We're all talking about him. He's talking about him because of digital ID. And we're also talking about him because this little story here, you can see it on the screen just there on the bottom of the Telegraph. Tony Blair might become the president of, drumroll please, Gaza. Can you believe it? He is shameless. He's shameless. He knows there's no leader to step in. And the man who started or was complicit in what I think is one of the most ridiculous wars we thrust upon ourselves, the so-called war on terror, the war in Iraq and Afghanistan and other places, well, now he wants to lead a Middle Eastern country or a place, Gaza, after the war. It's just ridiculous.
You know what I find so funny about this is that a source close to Blair told The Independent that Tony is willing to sacrifice his time. I mean, really, doesn't that just make you want to vomit?
It does make me feel sick. It really does. I mean, just go away.
He's been thinking about this since October 23. And he's had discussions with Trump. I mean, this is all according to reports. Trump has not confirmed any of this necessarily, but they've discussed it, and the White House has given the green light. Tony Blair's team won't comment. So, yeah, I do find it quite bizarre, to be honest. And as we were sort of discussing earlier, do we think that Tony Blair is the right person to be the interim leader in the Middle East, in the country?
It was his first job after he left Number 10, wasn't it? Middle East Peace Envoy.
That's right. Yeah.
And
how well did that go?
Yeah.
How well did that go, guys?
I might be missing something here, but it feels like there's a number of intermediary steps that need to be taken before you decide who's going to be president of something which just doesn't really exist.
Simon, what are you talking about?
Simon,
no, you got it all wrong.
OK, you appoint the president, and from that you get the state.
Yeah, Tony Blair knows you don't need that. Give the Gazans digital ID. They'll do what they're told at that point. We'll lock down all their rights. If they complain about it, we'll take them all away.
So surveys by the TBI, Tony Blair's think tank, showed that over a quarter of Gazans favoured some form of international involvement in their post-war government. And surprise.
Do they all tick a lovely box of Tony Blair smiling at them? I highly doubt it. I do think this man is completely out of control, and I think he's got gall. He really has to go and say he should run anything, quite frankly, because of his involvement, particularly in the Middle East. But, one thing I will say, Ellie, is that he potentially might make quite a good lapdog. I mean, I'm being a little bit rude about Tony Blair, but I don't think I have 10 minutes for the bloke, because he works very well with George Bush, didn't he?
Well,
so that's why Trump likes him.
That's definitely true. I don't really know too much about the relationship between Blair and Trump. We know, well, it was very funny that last week Trump pretended to not know Peter Mandelson, but until that moment, until obviously the scandal, the Epstein files came out, Trump and Mandelson got on quite well. So I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if Blair and Trump got on well, and as you say, Trump sort of lets him get on with it. As we say, interim leader, there's no confirmation of any of this, but it would be quite bizarre, to be honest.
Peter, would you defend Tony Blair becoming some sort of de facto president of Gaza?
I defend an awful lot of what he did in the UK, and I'm not going to read out the list of 100 things on his website, but, the NHS and education and so on and so on. I can't see him ending up with a formal role in Gaza. What's interesting is we know he had a meeting with President Trump. The Americans haven't really denied that. And the thing about Trump is he makes these colossal rhetorical statements, and then you always feel he needs people to follow up the detail, whether they're in the American administration or the head of NATO, or in this case, an ex-British Prime Minister who's got his own think tank. Trump needs ideas, whether he's going to reconcile North Korea, deal with the EU budget or deliver peace to the Middle East. So someone that brings him ideas, he clearly makes time to see. I think Tony Blair, he's got tons of money. He's been hugely important in the last 30 years of British politics, whether you agree with him or not. So he has this enormous legacy. I don't think he's going to end up with a formal role in Gaza, because I think, and by the way, the bloodshed which goes on is horrific, and it's continuing, as Simon said. We need peace in Israel and in Gaza before we can even talk about another administration. But I think Gaza eventually, when we all pray for peace, I think it has to be led by a Muslim.
Yeah, well, I think it's got to be led by somebody who's, if it is going to be a state, and if that is inevitable, if it's inevitable, I don't think that is inevitable, by the way, but if it is, I think it's got to be led by Gaza, no matter whatever race, religion, whatever they are. I think it's got to be led by Gaza, and if that is ever going to happen, I don't suspect it will.
That's not inevitable, I don't think.
I don't think it's inevitable that they will have their own state. In fact, I actually don't think they will, frankly.
Well, they've been run essentially from Iran, haven't they? Is that
Qatar?
fair?
I think Qatar and Iranians have been. Well, Hamas particularly has been. That's for sure. But look, we'll leave Tony Blair there. I just really do wish we could break away from this man. Once you've been prime minister, the highest honour you could possibly have is an elected office. Leave it there, mate. You've done enough. You've done enough, all right? Just have a day off, all right? Give us a break.
I would have said that to Boris Johnson when he was London Mayor as well, for that matter, and probably say it to Andy Burnham in Manchester as well, for that matter.
Yeah. I think maybe we're all just getting sick of the same old folks, aren't we? Yeah. Just going back onto migration very briefly, though, because it is the #1 issue in Britain now. And when we talk about digital ID, this petition, by the way, is about to hit 440,000 signatures. I think when I showed it to you last, it was on 420,000. So you can see...
You're typing away furiously with these fake emails, I can see.
That's it. But this petition here, Ellie, it could hit 1 million signatures if this is anything to go by tomorrow.
Yes, well, I think it's 100,000 signatures that needs to be debated in Parliament. As I was saying, I really think that Starmer's going to face a real revolt over this. And we really need Kemi Badenoch to come out firmly against it. It was embarrassing that Andrew Griffith, the shadow business secretary, was on GB News earlier and saying, well, I personally am against it. And then Christopher Hope said, well, that's disagreeing with Kemi, etc. So I think, she needs to come out tomorrow firmly against it, and that will rally the troops.
We're going to talk more about this, I promise you that. Well, coming up, wait until you hear how many civil servants are earning six-figure salaries. I think it's time we cut the blob down. This is Patrick Christys Tonight with me, Alex Armstrong. See you shortly.
Hello there, good evening. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Looking ahead, it's set to be another dry day tomorrow, then a change over the weekend. It's likely we'll see some outbreaks of rain push in from the west. That's all due to low pressure moving its way in from the Atlantic as high pressure slips away off to the east. And as it does so, it does bring in a slight change in our wind direction, more south to southeasterly flow. So we'll see more cloud push into parts of East Anglia, Sussex and Kent. This may produce some showers, also some showers possible across Yorkshire and Lincolnshire. But elsewhere, mostly dry, plenty of clear skies. So it's likely we'll see some mist and fog once again during the morning. Also some isolated rural frost, but most towns and cities remaining in the mid to high single figures. Now, to start the day across Scotland, yes, it will be mostly dry, but it's going to be fairly gusty, particularly around western coasts. A chance of some coastal gales here. So it's unlikely to see any mist or fog during the morning, so mostly bright but breezy start, and fairly similar across Northern Ireland too. But across the rest of England and Wales, once again, it could be fairly chilly. Some mist and fog, particularly around any valleys. Not feeling quite as cold, though, across parts of the southeast. More cloud here. And as we progress through the course of the day, this cloud will spread its way further inland. So it's likely that sunshine will turn more hazy in nature, and once again this cloud could be thick enough to produce the odd isolated shower. But for most it should be another dry day, the best of the brightness across parts of the west, and not feeling quite as warm as it did this afternoon, highs reaching around 16 to 17 degrees Celsius in the southeast. Now, as we head into Saturday, we'll start to see this change. This frontal system pushing in from the west, at times bringing some quite persistent and heavy outbreaks of rain. At first into Northern Ireland and then pushing its way eastwards into western Scotland, western parts of England and Wales, where it could linger through much of the day. But most of the east should be mostly dry and bright. And then it looks like turning brighter as we head into next week. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Patrick Christys tonight to the late edition with me, Alex Armstrong. Well, every adult in Britain will require a new government-issued digital ID card under plans to be set out by Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister. More than 440,000 people have signed a petition urging the government not to introduce them, and it is going up by hundreds every moment. I want to get the thoughts of somebody who I honestly couldn't have had a better guest on for this, and I'm going to go live to Washington, D.C. with the Late Show Live superstar presenter Bev Turner. Bev, so pleased you could join us, because this is just absolutely mental, isn't it, Bev?
When you were saying that headline there, Alex, about every adult in the UK is going to have a digital ID, I can't decide whether to be incredibly depressed about it, which of course I am, or actually celebrating, because I think this is going to be the end of Keir Starmer. I honestly don't think he can survive this. I think he's completely underestimated how much the British public know about digital ID, how many people are awake to this creeping authoritarian government that we're now going to be subjected to. And I also think there's a couple of stories which we're going to talk about tonight on The Late Show, which it's like he's kicking sand in our eyes tonight. There was a story that's been embargoed. We're going to talk about that. All this wonderful good news he's coming out with about how he's going to revive the high streets and all this wonderful news from Keir Starmer. Don't buy it for a second. It is emotional blackmail, because a digital ID will change life in this country in ways that we cannot even imagine. And it requires a huge amount of imagination to really understand it. We're being told, aren't we, that this is to make things convenient, because let's face it, Alex, nothing feels convenient at the moment when you turn on a phone and you've got a verification and another verification and another app and another email. All that, that's not accidental. That has nudged us towards this situation where lots of people will just go, I just want a quiet life, just give me a digital ID. It'll be fine, I can't bear it any longer, that'll be so much easier. It's going to make life horrible, it's going to make it hard, and it changes the relationship between the individual and the state forever, because they'll never row back on it.
Bev, you are probably one of the most important voices and have been on this for a very long time, and it's COVID that really drew our attention to this, wasn't it? Because it was vaccine passports that really kicked this all off as the testing ground, wasn't it?
It was, and at the time when some of us said that, we were told, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. That's never going to happen. I'm talking to another well-known conspiracy theorist on the show tonight, Neil Oliver, because he has also been saying this all along, but there's no vindication. Trust me, there's no satisfaction in knowing this is here. It's just had this terrible inevitability about it. We're going to talk tonight about why they're not having this conversation here in America. And might they have that? You know, if this was on Donald Trump's desk today, what would he say if somebody came in and said, look what they're doing in the UK. Do you think we should have that here in America? I've got one of his top advisors in the studio with me tonight who's just basically hot-footing it from the White House. So we're going to try and answer that question, why Americans have a different relationship towards this sort of thing. And to some extent, Alex, I know we have to move with the times, and there is possibly an argument that the population needs organising better because we have these clunky and unwieldy systems that don't operate well. This is not that. This is not the solution. To have all of your data in one place, that's what we're talking about here, a centralised system, will be potentially horrific, not just for our generation, but for our children's generation and so on and so on. But like I say, I'm optimistic that the British public won't buy it. That petition you were just showing there, I'd already signed it, I think, earlier in the week, and I went to have a look at it again this evening. And like you say, only a couple of hours ago, it wasn't on 200,000, and now it's over 500,000, and that is the British people rising up and saying, enough, Starmer, we won't have it, we won't take it. The population has never been less happy than it is at the moment. It's terrible timing to think we're going to subscribe to something like this. You know, it might be that if everyone felt like they had loads of money in their bank account and they got to the end of the month and saw their tax, you know, their pay slip and thought, oh, I'm feeling quite good, yeah, I'll do what you want, Starmer. We're not in that mindset. We're really angry, we're really frustrated, we're really unhappy. So this is going to be the final straw for Starmer. I honestly don't think he can survive it. I don't think Kemi Badenoch is going to... The Tories aren't going to do any good out of this either. The only party I've seen tonight come out and say we don't support it is Nigel. It's the Uni Party. So the Uni-Party, Alex, what's Kemi doing? Well, this has been in the wings for many, many years. This is all part of the UN agenda. It's all part of Agenda 2030, the 17 sustainable goals. None of that works unless we become one massive data set that can be monetized. That's what this is. It's a dehumanizing data set exercise. Who knows, Kemi Badenoch, she might be on board with it. She's been sat at those tables for many years having these conversations. It needs radical voices. Look at how the media are handling it tonight. No one's going to be handling this like GB News. You're not going to see breakfast telly tomorrow morning on ITV talking about this as anything other than a wonderful convenience to make everyone's life easy. No, it's not that. So yeah, we've got a lot to talk about tonight, and I'm going to be talking to lots of Americans and Brits actually in the studio about this tonight to see where we go. What do we do?
Thank you so much. Late Show Live superstar Bev Turner. If there's anything you do tonight, you're going to want to tune in and watch that show. Trust me, there is no greater authority on this voice than Bev Turner and, of course, Neil Oliver joining her. It's going to be bombshell television. Trust me. Right, well, you can get more of Bev at midnight, of course, on The Late Show Live. Please stay and watch it, please. Up next, the RAF, the pride of Great Britain's airspace, well, we'll reveal how even the Royal Air Force isn't safe from the vegans. They're everywhere, aren't they? This is Patrick Christys tonight, late edition with me, Alex Armstrong.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
The heaviest and most thundery rain that's been affecting parts of Central Europe through recent days, that's now starting to ease. But nonetheless, a fair few showers across parts of Greece and nearby countries as we go through Friday. A few showery bursts still across Italy, could still be quite heavy towards the north. Meanwhile, further west across much of Spain and Portugal, it's largely fine, albeit with a few showery bursts pushing towards Madeira and the Canary Islands. Lots of fine weather for most of us through into the weekend.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
no,
isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Well, welcome back to the show, everybody. Well, how about veganism? Do you hear enough about that these days? Well, RAF air crews have won the right to wear vegan uniforms. It's exhausting, isn't it, being alive in this century? After a long-running dispute with defence chiefs, that is. Personnel identifying as ethical vegans must be provided with the eco-friendly attire they request, according to internal documents seen by The Telegraph. It follows a long-running campaign by the Ministry of Defence's Vegan and Vegetarian Network. A group of activists across the armed forces who are seeking to stamp out animal products such as leather boots and woolen berets. The RAF's uniform regulations state that vegans need only inform their chain of command that they would like to wear clothes or accessories that do not come from animals because of their genuinely held beliefs. I mean...
Sorry, the RAF, if you're worried about some animals being hurt... Do you realise what you're there for?
Right? Do you know what they have to? Do you know what they have to do in training for the Royal Marines? They have to kill animals. It's part of the job. Isn't the whole point of joining the military because you might go to war and kill a human being? I mean, if this is your red line, I'm sorry. I think you're really misplaced, Simon. What?
Yeah. Well, no.
I don't know what to ask you.
I mean, I suppose a vegan option on the menu, I can just about see that. A lot of people are raised now, and if they are struggling to recruit, but of course we know that there are stories in the last couple of years in which they were only struggling to recruit because they continually refuse to recruit people who don't fit their current DEI quotas and so on. But putting that to one side, just for a moment... Yes, as I say, I can imagine a vegan option. I do struggle to see why you should have any problem with wearing a woolen beret. I mean, sheep like to be shorn. If they don't get shorn, they're not going to exist. You know, basically, you hate sheep. You hate sheep so much that you want to reduce their economic viability by refusing to wear the one thing they can give up without pain. If you refuse to eat mutton or lamb, fine. If you don't want to gnaw on an actual visible, like a lamb's knuckle, then I get it. OK, maybe that's a bit too visceral for you. But refusing to wear a woolen beret, you are unlikely to be able to act appropriately under fire, in my view.
Plastic boots instead of leather boots?
Pleather, I guess.
Leather, but more uncomfortable. I mean, what's actually more expensive to wear? Is vegan clothing more expensive?
And invariably more environmental damage. It's always done by these kind of things.
Absolutely. Well, pleather, plastic, oil, all the rest, so...
Mining berets.
Peter, I've got to come to you on this because this is just absolute nonsense, in my opinion. And I just can't... For all the issues facing our country at the moment, for the armed forces, desperate for more money to be pumped into them because there might be threats of war, World War III, and there's people in the military going, oh, what about my vegan uniform? For me, it just screams nonsense.
Well, what's wrong with... I mean, it will prompt a lot of funny headlines, but what's wrong with letting people act according to their conscience? And I would have thought on this channel you'd be quite in favour of people making individual choices and individual liberty. So what's wrong with doing that?
No, but do you know what it is? It's the fact that this... Like, I think we are in favour of people making choices, but then don't join the military. That's what I'd say to them.
Why
if you
not?
can't handle wearing animal products, you're not going to be able to handle killing a human being or making tough decisions. You've got to go. Just leave.
No, I don't buy that at all. Just because someone has values doesn't mean they're not fit to serve. Of course they're fit to serve.
All right, well, we'll have to agree to disagree on that one. Well, in the Times, figures show the number of civil servants earning six-figure salaries has almost doubled in 3 years and tripled in less than a decade. Get this, a total of 3,551 civil servants are paid more than £100,000 a year, including 370 of them on between 150 grand and 200 grand, and 40 of them on more than £200,000. Just for the record, the Prime Minister's on £166,000. Ellie.
Plus his wife's dress allowance.
the Lord Ali tax. Ellie, this is bonkers.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're constantly talking about the bloated blob, but also the fact that Labour constantly say we're going to trim the fat, all the rest. By the way, when they said we're going to freeze government procurement cards, each department spending has gone up since that announcement. Headcounts have ballooned since Starmer said that actually we're going to trim the fat, we're going to cut down civil service, etc. NHS England, remember that quango that Starmer abolished back in March? The staffing costs have gone up in July. So, I mean, this is a sort of issue that I don't think Labour's going to be able to tackle.
Peter, very briefly, what's your response to this for me?
Just cap it. I mean, just cap it. Like, I think civil servants work very hard, they're very clever, they've got a lot of expertise, they're public service, but cap it. You don't need $250,000 a year, you don't need 300k a year.
You don't need to be any more than the Prime Minister, Simon.
I think I'm actually quite relaxed about 40 people earning over 200,000 if they're any good. I'd like to see their job titles, their experience, I'd like to see their productivity.
Diversity, equity and inclusion manager.
If you're trying to bring the very best people in and you're fighting with the private sector, then I'm fine with the best 40 people in the world available working for the civil service. I want to see the head count, as you say. That's where you want to make the cuts. You just want to stop the whole thing metastasising.
Yes.
It started with Cyril Northcote Parkinson's Law, a study of the Admiralty shortly after the war. An excellent study on how the civil service balloons.
Stop the blob. Anyway, a government spokesperson says we are developing a more agile and productive civil service, reducing departmental administration costs by 16% over the next 5 years to deliver savings of over $2 billion a year by 2030. Can I just say thank you all? I did promise you last night was my last show, but apparently today is my last show now. So thank you all for putting up with me for the last few weeks, and I've really enjoyed covering the show. If you like this sort of show, please come and join me on the weekends at Alex Armstrong Tonight from 9 p.m. Saturday and Sunday. Thank you, Ellie. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Simon. But next, stay tuned, because if you care about ID and you care about your freedom, you're going to want to hear from the Late Show live host, Bev Turner. Take it away, Bev.
Thank you, Alex. That's right. Big guest here in the studio. Jason Miller has just arrived from the White House. He'll tell us why digital ID isn't on the cards here in America. That and a big American TikTok deal today as well. Don't go anywhere. This is The Late Show Live.
This is your chance to win a motorhome and cash in our biggest giveaway to date. Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be the proud owner of this 2025 Benamar Primero. It comfortably accommodates 4 people and can be driven on your standard driving licence. Plus, you'll also bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend on anything you like. Make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4.